90% of it is going out the window. You're going to start from scratch when you get in the field. And I'm thinking like I treat my railway job it's like a sport. So I'm gonna use like the football, the soccer analogy. I'm signed to a new team and I gotta make a good impression. I was even talking to the guy who the recruitment agency. Like they were talking about, oh, you need sponsors. So I was thinking, okay, so basically you're kind of like my main club to get me signed for the next club. And it's like, yeah. And like, I like your analogy. I was thinking, yeah, that's how easy it is. So it's like you gotta treat it like a sport, really. You gotta like look at it from a sports perspective. You gotta be like someone who's high demand that people can't get enough of. You gotta be like the NBA player of your field.
You're describing scarcity,
Really,
scarcity of talent. We only watch sports because we respect the amount of craftsmanship, work, just the body critique alone, the talent that they've practiced. That's the draw to sports. We respect the work. And when you join a team, you want to be respected for your work. So when you do good work, if you saw it all day long, if you saw work all day long, that was good. That's normal. But if you saw a spectacular play, you just saw something of scarcity, something of a moment that is not common, but actually you're there to watch for it. And it's those little golden nuggets along the way that we learn in life, business, schools, institutions, independent studies, that you could read 100 books and you only get three concepts out of those 100 books, but those three concepts are the golden nuggets that will achieve the reality that you're looking for.
okay, interesting, interesting. So would you say it leads back to what you just said about your latest article about conflict resolution is in a way about the pressure in certain degrees? Because when I look at that article and what you said about scarcity, I think someone who's like, who can handle pressure or anything, like to me, it creates a little scarcity because like you said, it creates scarcity because you like I said, it's rare, you don't see anything, and people like people who handle pressure, who doesn't fold to it, who's able to stay like in a way stoic or like calm in those kind of storms.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's not in our wheelhouse psychologically to be able to do it. So it takes training, it takes patience, it takes failure to be able to realize that you can have the best conversation in the room, but that'll be your last one, and that's not the goal.
Okay. Okay, interesting. What do you mean like that's not the goal? So what do you mean? Like is it a goal to control the room or just like observe the room?
Well, let's talk about the conflict resolution that you're talking about. So, when I posted this conflict resolution, I was working in a situation where a lot of people think conflict resolution is between two people. A lot
Hmm.
of times it's between yourself. So, a lot of time conflict resolution exists before you even get conflict resolution in the exterior world. It comes from your own thoughts. Do I have enough? Am I ready? What is my definition? How am I going to come out? What is this going to roll out and looking like? Those conflict resolutions in your own mind start way before you have actually real conflict with the barriers that are set in place in the world. So what I say, scarcity and conflict resolution, they're two different things for two different ideas. But conflict resolution starts with yourself, and then
Hmm.
obviously it migrates into the exo world that we live in, and that's where the real training and that's where the real delivery is going to come from, is understanding your own conflict, understanding your own boundaries, and then
Hmm.
articulating what you want to get into, what you don't want to get into, what you trust and what ultimately is going to net you the value and the happiness that you're looking for. And that's a scarcity. To be able to do that, you're going to work so hard, but you're only going to get little golden nuggets along the way. And those golden nuggets are what you live for. And there's so much work that goes into it to be able to build yourself, to be able to build your, our brains don't automatically, as I mentioned earlier, our brains don't automatically want conflict. We don't really want tension. We're not designed that way. We live in this world where it's a must now, so we assume that everybody knows, but it's not something that's natural to us. So when you have resolution in your own mind, and then you go out and you can transfer that into the exo world, yes, scarcity is what you're looking for. And those moments, those exact moments of scarcity are the golden nuggets that will either propel you or educate you to go somewhere else.
Interesting. Because it's funny, not just today. Yeah, it's like I was just watching a video. I was watching a Mark Manson video, and he talked about like how perfectionism is now a form of procrastination in its own
Yes,
ways.
100%. 100%. That's the greatest. Many scholars have said that. Many good public speakers have said that. And look, I talk to companies all the time that are saying solopreneurs, okay, that are
Mm-hmm.
saying I just want to perfect this. I just want to do this. And the answer is start before you're ready. Start before you think it's perfect. Start before you're ready because you need the feedback of the people. You actually need the feedback. If you stay in the tunnel vision of what you think is perfection, you're exactly right. It's procrastination.
Interesting to say that because I think because I spent years. So I'm more. I like. I'm a joint bookworm. I love reading a lot of books. It's only this year, 2026, taught me to stop being theory and be more practical to a point. Yeah, like get everything out the window. It's like just basically just dive in, do the perfection later, and just like just go for a moment and take a risk. And I think my new career is maybe realizing, okay, this is a hands-on job. This is not customer service field. You're using your hands. You're getting your hands dirty. You're using a bit of grit, but it's also building character. And I think when I look at like, especially like the entrepreneurs or the self-help industry, none of them talk about like I said about how perfectionists actually killing your creativity or killing your drive. And
Yeah,
I
they
think
don't. Yeah, they do. Go ahead.
no, you go, you go.
Yeah, they don't. And I think that's one thing that you like about sports is that a coach tells you when you're good enough. You don't have to make that decision yourself. And often we look for that. We look for a confidence driver. But where the real secret sauce comes in any business or any outcome is that you need to look in yourself, look at yourself, understand your own risk, understand your own barriers, and know that you're not perfect, and neither is anybody else. So, Brandon Elrich reaches out and says, I'll never be perfect. And the answer is, you're perfect just the way you are, Brandon. You just have to perfect more of the same. And those are the things that make up great societies. Those are the things that draw audiences. It's the miscues that people are looking for and the authenticity that comes with it.
No, of course, and I agree with you. I mean, just what a couple of days ago, just a couple of days, I was helping my younger brother out because he does software engineering and he
Hmm.
wants to like practice like YouTube and stuff. And it's like you gotta get uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. Like it's
Absolutely.
not you.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Yeah, absolutely. Is that if if you're comfortable, you're not in the you're how do I say this? If you're comfortable, you're confident. But if there's confidence without being uncomfortable, you're not really in the right room. I shouldn't say the right room because you could be in any room you want to be in. But the true idea is that if you want to expand and you want to grow your network, you want to grow your value, you want to grow your proposition, whatever that may be, you need to
Mm.
drop into some rooms that you're just not comfortable with or you don't understand and you want to learn more. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what? This actually leads to one of the questions I was gonna say as well because right now you just hear about something about networking, and this is something I've noticed with especially on Substack.
Hmm.
And a lot of people love to sell their products to give out, but it's like knowing them how to hold conversation and network. And I think this is my question to you. So why should people create opportunity for themselves knowing the setbacks? Because I think a lot of people don't know how to create opportunities in my personal opinion, especially with networking.
Well, let's talk about networking first. I think there's two good topics there. Let's talk about networking first, and then I may ask you to remind me because I'm getting old. So I may ask
No,
you to
you're not
remind me
old,
of
you're
the
still young.
second part. But networking. So so many people talk about networking and how many people they have in their funnel and how many people they have and stuff. The real question of networking is who are you talking to?
Hmm.
Who are you interacting with? It's not who you're connected to or who you have, that you've made a relationship with 5 years ago that you can go to if you need to. Networking is not defined by staleness, it's defined by a verb, which means
Okay.
action, which means action. Networking is a verb, not a noun. So I make a point to network with people live like yourself. I make a point to make phone calls, check on people, and your network is not always. People think a network is somewhere you're going to go and get something valuable from. I look at a network as
Mm.
different. I look at a network as what can I benefit my network from? What have I learned in the last 30, 90, 80 days that I could share with my network? If you're not interacting with your network on a regular basis, your network is nothing more than a list of people that you may or may not have contact with.
I see what you mean.
What
Nah,
was
I
the
love the
second?
arc of that.
Yeah,
So
what was
I
the
was saying
second
like
part?
this, the second one was about creating opportunities like for themselves within on terms of networking side.
So yeah, so listen, creating opportunities is simple. Uh, Become available. Become available. So if you want something, try to get as close to it as you can. If you want, when I was in flight school, I was an airline pilot in one of my lives, and
Oh, nice.
when I was in flight school, while I was learning the flight philosophy and theories and different things of flight, it was a boring time for me. Not because I didn't like the information, but because I didn't see the wheels turning. I didn't see the engines rolling. I couldn't smell the avgas. I couldn't. I could. So what I did was I'd go to the airport. I'd go to the airport and sit as close as I could to the fence, as close as I could to the window, whatever that may be, to get as close to the environment as possible. Not only that, it encouraged me to learn in the practicals. I'm a visual learner. So
Mhm.
I do read the academic stuff, but I also want the visual perspective. I want to know why. I'm a why guy. And this leads into some of your stuff that you were talking about earlier, is that why am I here? And the answer is I'm here because I want to propel that piece of metal into the sky, and I think that's a miracle. And when I'm gonna be here whatever it takes to get there. So I would say get close to it as possible as you can. So networks and getting close to them, staying in contact with them, hand over hand, and 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 look, we can't get in contact with 14 million people. We can't get in contact with thousands of people, but there's nothing that stops you from some setting some boundaries and saying, this is really my network. And it's a handful of people, 2 dozen people, maybe 4 dozen people, maybe that you can reach on a regular basis and get
Mhm.
close to them, just like I wanted to get close. You know, reading about flaps and ailerons and wings was exciting, but it was more exciting to see it go out the window every 30 seconds when I was studying it to look at the plane taking off. That was my motivation. So my goal was to get as close to the end result as possible, even if I had to watch from afar.
Nice, nice. That's you know what, it's actually kind of relates to what my first day, my first shift in my actual field.
Hmm.
And I always imagine I'm carrying a sleeper from one station to another. And it's just like the middle of the night. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning in
Hmm.
UK. And I'm thinking, wow, this is heavy. But at the same time, it built character. And the thing is like what I've noticed, because I'm like an extrovert by default. I realized something network is, and I was just said network is key. And I think, damn, I forgot the basics, social interaction. I'm so busy by the job that I forgot to interact with my new colleague to a point of, damn, they might have connection, they might have plugs,
Hmm.
and they might have resources to help me. Because even though my main sponsor may not give me certain work, I could go for some sub sponsors. So I'm like, damn, it's like sports. I could go for like I could work for this team for a bit or the next team to a point. This team might like me so much, they might recruit me for their team. And I was like, when you said about networking, it actually changed my perspective of networking because I always thought like, oh, let me just connect to people who can get me further in life. But no, let me actually build a relationship with people who I think who are on the same level as me, same ambition, same value as me, and we can see grow together. And I
May I
think,
may I
go on.
object? May I object to
Yeah,
you?
yeah, of course.
So that would be somebody that has not made a lot of good network connections. And
Hmm.
yeah, you and I are on the page where I can be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think when you start networking, you're there to give, not take.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think and I think you should try to network with people that are not like you. I think you should try to network with people that you don't know. Look, it's never a mistake to be a good person. So if you see somebody when you're doing your job and you get off at the station and you see somebody and for no reason they can't benefit you, you know, they can't do anything for you, but you say, hey, how you doing? You doing all right? You
Yeah.
got enough, you know, and you make casual conversation. To me, those are solid networks because you're dealing with the human part of networking, but you're also not looking for what they can value you or give you. You're looking for
Mm.
how you can value them. I have always been a big believer of, you know, you probably don't know this, but back in the old days, there was a guy named Zig Ziglar.
Oh no, I don't think Sigler. He has
You know
in some of his
Zig?
books.
Okay. All right.
I listened to his book. See at the top. I got his whole book collection.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll like this then. So one of the things that stuck with me with Zig is that he always used to position himself that if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And that stuck with me. And I've always approached it that way that I'm here to give. And yeah, I mean, we all have to make money. That's what makes the world go
Yeah.
around. And we all have to go fast because it's a fast world. But to be honest with you, I'd sooner talk to 200 people a day that
Hmm.
I can try to work with and try to learn something from than two people a day that I can sell to and try to make money. It's just a
Yeah.
better reward.
You know what? That's something you just said because the fact is, yeah, we just you mean you mentioned Six Ziglar? I was like straight away he's first because it's funny. I'll be honest. I have his book. I haven't read all of them, but I listened to his audiobook and I love listening to him, and especially his Series C at the top. Like even like Brian Tracy as well. His book No Excuses.
Yeah, and I don't
And
want
I
to turn this into motivational because those
yeah
guys are
yeah.
motivational. I'm not a motive. I don't want you to think I'm motivational by any means. I'm
No,
not.
hell no, 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 no. Of course not.
Yeah, I don't have any motivation for you. But what I can tell you is that there are nuggets, golden nuggets along the way on things like this. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you he developed a course in Texas called the I CAN program, which was
Hmm.
rolled out in schools nationwide. And I don't know why we stopped it. Maybe it's by design. But the I can, just the phrase alone allows you to, it gives you the power to walk into a room that maybe you're not welcome, maybe you don't have anything in common, but you do have the ability to listen, and you do have the ability to articulate, peace and reality. And that's where communication. You just never know. So my network is not designed by who has the best profile on LinkedIn. My network is designed that if I call them right now, what can I get in front of? What can I get in a situation where if they needed something? What can I get in a situation where if I can position myself for you, what can we learn from each other? And that's the network I have. Now, do those network people pay me to do things? Absolutely. Sure. There's people in the network that do that, but I learned who they were first. And
Yeah.
that I think that's the difference.
Yeah. You just remind me of something because the way I looked in for my professional like, outside. So outside my profession, I'm like a poet, so I go to poetry nights, like open mic nights,
Yeah.
and I've been going there for like 4 years, and there's so many people who are like bigger me and bigger on the platform and everything. But the thing is that I don't look at what can I get from them. I just feel like let me just get to know you on the human level because this is your creativity. So let me know you in the human level. And to the point, someone will reach out to me. They're like, "Hey man, I like your vibe and everything. And like your energy. You're a natural giver. You help people out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I like to help out communities." To me, I value human interaction more than creativity. Like I said, I value this conversation more because in the day we realize that we're two guys from the different side of the world, but we have a lot of things. We have a bit of things in common.
Yeah. And you have more in common than you have that separates you. And I told you before, I'm a father. I've got three daughters, and we used to play this game when we were young. And some people may agree to this or not agree, but I always had good eyes on everybody. But we would purposely get on an airplane, a public airplane, and we would sit in different seats. And I used to give them tasks, and I would say to them, "We're going to play the get to know your seat game." And so you sit in a seat and you're next to a stranger. If you sit in the middle seat, you've got two. If you sit in one, the window seat, you only got one. But your job was to get to know them. And we had certain milestones. And believe it or not, the kids at a young age, I mean, I'd say young age, they were in their teenagers years, but they were in a young age where they would say, "All right, all right." And that ability for them to talk to a stranger in an obtuse place, that
Mm,
conversation was key before information, really developed their strengths here today. They're all speakers. They all articulate well, and I think I contribute some of that to their early interaction with being. I think you said it earlier, Duncan, is that being comfortable when yourself when you're not the smartest person in the room or you're nervous.
yeah. I think what you just said there is, I think what you did for your daughters, that's a beautiful thing because I think nowadays we live in a digital world where people are lost ability to social interaction, where people can't even hold conversation in real life public. And I'm the type of person I like to go places mostly by myself because in the day it gives me opportunities to meet new people, interact with people, find people who are like I said, totally opposite of me, but I can learn from them at the same time. And I'm the type of person I can admit when I'm wrong, I can admit when I'm not perfect, but one thing people like about me is like I'm always willing to try something.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to starve. You're never going to starve if you're willing to move. It's a verb, not a noun.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so yeah, listen, I created Omics Intel for one purpose, and that was to offer a platform where there's so much information out there. You could read
Mm.
anything you want to read about any topic. But who is there to interact with you when you need it most? It's
Mm.
confidential. I don't need to know everything about your life. I'm outside your circle of friends. I'm outside your
Yeah.
network. We created this environment where people can come to us in their not so finest moments, okay, and articulate a problem, and we're able to, with tools and past performance experience, we're able to work on a dime and say, hey, this is where we can add value. This is what you need to do right now. The rest we'll take care of, but this is what we have to focus on right now. And Omics Intel has done just that. We've built this platform where it's digital. It has some technology built into it, but it's human. It's a human situation where any human can come and interact with us for a conflict. As you mentioned earlier, the conflict resolution side of yourself, the conflict resolution side to the exterior world, or even resolving a clarity. There's so much noise that we just need clarity sometimes, and that's truly what we build at Omics Intel.
Yeah. You know what? I want to dive into the next question I want to ask you. So my
Hmm.
next question to you is more like, how you spot the point where it's too much or knowing your limits, like about the pressure? Like
Yeah,
when do you know?
you don't you don't know. Unfortunately, you don't know sometimes until you're broken, and I've been there myself. People that come from a high driven standard, kind of like yourself, Duncan, where you're like, I'm going to go. I'm just going to, there's an old saying in the military where I'm going to see, freedom, or I'm going to see God tonight. One of the two is going to happen.
Oh, that's
And so,
powerful.
yeah, sometimes you ultimately get there, and that's called burnout. So I deal with a lot of companies that are in a burnout state that are still viable companies, but there's no more future vision. They've either accomplished their goal, and it's all about the goal, or they've achieved their motivational boundary, and they're beyond that. And so you start to get broken in that situation. So back to your question is, how do you know? And the answer is, you may not. You may not know until you know, but once you know, you'll never go there again. I promise you.
Yeah. I trust me, I had my fair share of burnouts. I remember the first time I had my first personal burnout. I believe it was 2023. That's this like my work, me working my previous job in retail. The point is like I was so immersed in the poetry scene to the point is like, I worked hard, I saved up to get my first ever MacBook, which I'm still using now. Next thing I bought it, instead of being motivated using creativity, I wasn't motivated. I wasn't inspired. I had
Mhm.
nothing. Next thing you know, I call my father and it's like, I'm asking the guy, it's like, hey, have you been in this situation before? When you work so hard with something and then the minute you achieved it, it's like, what's next? You don't feel motivated to do anything else. You don't feel like, you could go any further. And he was saying, look, that's normal, it's natural. And the whole year, I keep beating myself up. I get really annoyed. It's like one day where I just looked at my mom's graduation photo. It hit me. Duncan, you're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're actually burnt out. You're actually physically burnt out.
Mhm.
And I was thinking that's what burnt looks like. The point is like I had to go back to my childhood days where I started playing old school video games just to feel that energy and redeem. And I was thinking, okay, that's like, my thing to deal with burnouts. Even this year as well. If I ever start playing my Nintendo Switch or video games, my body's telling me, Duncan, you're in the burnout stage. You need to start relaxing. You can't go ham anymore. You just gotta like relax, breathe for a bit. Take time. Like there's no shame. Don't worry, the stop cycle ain't going nowhere. It's there. Like relax. This your health is more important than your work. And I think my question to you is like I wanted I could do like two parts of this burnout. Like there's emotional burnout and physical burnout. Do you think a lot of people are aware of the emotional or the physical side of the burnouts?
I think they're aware of them. I just don't think they know how to get out of them sometimes.
Okay.
I think they're
So
trapped. I think they're trapped within feeding their family or their career, whatever that may be, and the reality of what is good for next. And that bridge isn't built, and it's a hard bridge to make.
So would you say, like, in your first opinion, which one do you see more, the physical side or the emotional side when it comes to the terms of the burnout? Or
So I
they tend
usually
to overlap?
Yeah, so I usually see burnout after success. So I usually get, I work with professional athletes, I work with business, I work with people in the government, government contractors, general contract, all these people. And I typically see true burnout, okay? True burnout. I typically see that when they've achieved success, believe it or not, when they're holding the trophy in their hand, so to speak, okay?
Hmm.
And they've reached their goal, they're completely lost because they've done everything they could possibly, excuse me,
That's right.
to get to this point, and now they're empty because sometimes the ride on the way to success is the greatest achievement, not necessarily the success itself.
Hmm.
And I've been there, and I was there with a pilot. I was there with flying. As a pilot, becoming, people said, "Oh, you got to be good in math." I'm horrible in math. You got to be good at this. I was horrible in that, but I stayed with it. I studied. I studied. I studied. Got as close. I told you, I engulfed myself with it. Less a, full time mentality, physical, everything. So I was all in. And when I became a pilot, I'll never forget 6 months into the job, I had to step away for a little bit, and I said to myself, you know something, I don't enjoy it anymore. I enjoyed getting
Hmm.
here. I don't enjoy riding around now. And it
Okay.
was an interesting, it's an interesting spot. So I think there's physical, I think there's emotional, I think there's exhaustion, but typically it's at the success point or the point at which you feel is that you've achieved your goal. That's where I typically see it.
So when you say so, so the burnout never happens when you enter like maybe the imposter syndrome phase. All you have is after the success.
You can in the imposters phase. You can absolutely. You could go down a rabbit hole and burn yourself out for sure. Maybe your success isn't clearly defined. Maybe your success was something smaller, and you did achieve it, but you just didn't push it. You just didn't set your goal further enough to get further along. And burnout can happen in all different aspects of the way. My burnout when I was younger was different when I was older versus where it was when I got even older and older. But there those different levels of burnout. And you mentioned a really good concept, Duncan. You mentioned during burnout, you go back to where you were. Playing, in your case, you were playing games. You're playing, video games. Um, I think, I think a lot of information around the brain will tell you to go back because you're really trying to find out what started this in the first place, who you are, who you were at that time. What were you doing at that time before you got into this burnout? And a lot of people do that. Some people watch reruns of sitcoms. Some people do play video games. Some people go back and call old friends, old girlfriends, whatever that may be, because they want to remember who they were, so they can re-jog their brain to try to emulate who they were, so they can fade out the burnout. And I think it was brilliant that you said that you use video games because that is a tool. A lot of people will do that to go back to what they used to do.
Yeah. No, I think so. Because to me, it's like after it's only when 2023, yeah, is when noticed it, and then even me, you know what's bad? I subconsciously don't remember to. I don't not even consciously, but subconsciously somehow my body just tells me, "Hey, we're playing video games." I'm like, now I'm thinking, why am I playing video games? I should be working. That means, oh, my body's telling me we're in a burnout stage, and I think this is something a lot of people don't realize. Your body actually keeps track of what you're doing. A lot of time, people don't listen to their body as well.
Very smart. Your body is a very smart structure, and it's smarter than we can articulate it. And it will do what's necessary, even if it has to shut down. It will do what's necessary. That's what I've learned. I've learned that it will respond to the physical, the emotional, the anxiety. It will respond. You may not like the response, but it will respond. And that's its way of saying to you, hey, you've gone this direction, or you're in this situation. Just standard anxiety does that to us on a regular basis.
Yeah. No, it's actually interesting as well because when we say that, because now looking back, I'm thinking it's crazy how much the body keeps track of a lot of information, but we don't tend to like pay attention towards it. And I think sometimes I tell people, if you're tired, listen to your body. And I think you and I we talked about this with my friend radio about capitalism, like how the hustle culture tries to shame us for like resting. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who made the term rest is for the weak. That is the most craziest phrase I ever heard in my life.
There's a lot of phrases that are crazy. I mean, a lot. I've never heard a really good saying that couldn't be amended to say something else. So you have to be careful. Everything is in context, right? Everything is in context. So if you need a break, take a break. I mean, by all means, you want the best of yourself to go out. So if you're not able to be the best you, then take a break. But if you take a break and a break becomes your life, well, that's not the best you either. So there's got to be a balance between the two.
No, of course, definitely, definitely. But you know what? Maybe this one actually leads up to the next question we want to ask you. I want to ask you like this question, like, what ways should anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur should be aware of? Like if you want to become like same things like I say I want to be an entrepreneur. Like what are the risk that I gotta be aware of to like know I'm gonna get into this path of being an
Yeah,
entrepreneur?
yeah. So let's define entrepreneur first, because a lot of the term solopreneur, startup company, business owner, entrepreneur,
Yeah.
they're all kind of gel together. And that's
Yeah.
noise. That's noise. So entrepreneur is a large term for an organization that essentially says if the owner gets hit by a bus, that things will continue to operate. Payroll
Hmm.
continue to be paid,
Yeah.
shipments will go out, services will be rendered. If you're an entrepreneur, then you're not the business. You're the visionary behind the business at that point. But if you're a solopreneur or you're a business owner that you're starting out as a business owner, um, you need to offer a product or service that's very common and very simple idea. But
Mm.
you need to be the only person that believes everything at first, and then you need to listen to your audience, whoever you're pitching to, whoever you're selling to. So I think as a don't I wouldn't use entrepreneur. I would say as a startup business owner, as somebody that you're going to work for you're creating a job for yourself. So as an
Well,
entrepreneur,
thank
you're
you.
not creating a job for yourself. You're creating a job for yourself. So if an entrepreneur is not the term, you're going to use business owner, or I run the business. You could actually get the name CEO by definition of legality on paper, if you want to. But those
Mhm.
terms don't really matter in the early incubator cycles. They don't really matter. What matters is what you're pitching and what feedback you're getting. That's the only way to judge who you'll become in this process.
Yeah. No, interesting because you know what? Because for me, I don't know. I think the word entrepreneur has been like thrown around so many times. Like not in Substack, I've seen so many people on social media platforms, and I'm thinking like, just because you understand how the business model runs, doesn't mean you make you an entrepreneur. Like I said to you, I spent 10 years like in retail, and I'll be honest, I don't call myself an entrepreneur. It's like I understand it, I understand the foundation of business, but it doesn't make me an entrepreneur because any day I ain't got a company to run. Like I said, I ain't got payroll, I ain't got people working for me, so therefore I'm not an entrepreneur.
The entrepreneur doesn't care how it looks, doesn't even care what they sell. Their entrepreneur's job is to continue to move it and to make it essentially profitable for the next exchange. Every entrepreneur or CEO that I know that's on a big level, their jobs are not to walk around, use your example, retail stores. Walk around retail stores and say, "Oh, we have the best jeans," or "We have this." They do believe it to some degree, but they get behind it. But the real aspect on the back end is how do we get more of it? How do we get better distribution? How do we make it profitable? What does the P&L look like? Those kind of things. It's a different type of focus at entrepreneur than it is startup business owner or solopreneur. As a solopreneur and business owner, you've got to love everything. Entrepreneur doesn't really need to do all that.
Yeah. You know what? I want to dive into the whole solopreneur thing because that's something that I've been noticing on Substack as well. People say I'm a solopreneur. I'm thinking, what is a snowpreneur? Like, what is that?
It's essentially a fancy word for saying I own this business by myself.
Really? Really now?
I
So
mean, prove me
basically,
prove me wrong in the
but
prove me wrong in the chat. Can somebody define it better? Solopreneurs essentially means that there's one person driving a business. And if that business is run by more people, it can be. It can hire employees. It can do different things. That's true. But typically, solopreneur is an early entry for business, and it pretty much says, "Hey, I'm out here. I'm incorporated. I've done the right, or however your structure is. I've done the right foundation, and I'm here for business." That's what that means. But it should never be conflated with entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a totally different thing.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that one because I remember years ago, my old friend would say to me, "Oh, Duncan, entrepreneur." And I looked at him crazy, like, "I am no entrepreneur. Let's get everything straight. I know how to. I understand the foundation of networking. I know how to socialize people, but does not make me an entrepreneur. I mean, yeah, I read a couple of books on business, but doesn't make me a master entrepreneurness. Like anyone could be a business book, anyone could be a marketing book, but doesn't make them a true entrepreneur."
Yeah, the idea of fake it till you make it doesn't work with the title. So you can fake it till you make it in a lot of things. However, however, is it doesn't make you. I mean, you can do whatever you want to, but there are certain times where terms matter, and when you're starting a company, structure matters. If you're the entrepreneur, you're the solopreneur, or you're the business startup, single LLC, however you want to structure it. You don't give yourself validity before it's hatched. You actually hurt yourself. You can fake it till you make it later if you'd like, but not necessarily um, during the process in the early incubator stage. I think you hurt yourself.
So obviously in your career, yeah, you probably seen a lot of time happening. So a lot of people do this, don't they? As well, it's like where they start like basically start running before they can start walking.
Look, everybody should start running before they start walking. But I just don't want you to go out and dress yourself up as a policeman and say you're a policeman and you're really not a policeman. You're a security guard. So you have to call it what it is. And it's very important early in business that you define honesty, clarity, and integrity. Because if you call yourself an entrepreneur and we start talking and you're literally our solopreneur, we're kind of on rocky ground already. So you have to be careful. I mean, you just have to be careful. People that know. People that don't know, don't know. And you just want to be clear. I'm still learning. Keep in mind, I'm still learning, and I'm a serial entrepreneur by trade and done all kind of different things, and I've had a wonderful life doing it, but it hasn't been smooth. And those are the articulations I'm trying to position is that, in this world of digital space, we can create any image we want, we can create any validation we want, but you got to have the integrity, at least in the title.
No, of course, definitely. And I think this is something I picked up myself. I don't know why people are so obsessed with that word or solopreneur, entrepreneur, or try to be something. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think everyone's called out to be it, and that's okay. I mean, I will see myself. I will never see myself as an entrepreneur. I mean, I can't. Yeah, I know it's business models or a little bit of marketing, but like I said, that's make me that diehard entrepreneur. I mean, I classify myself as someone who's like more of like a Renaissance person. Who like he learns different skills. Like I know a bit of photography. I know a bit of poetry. Like I said, I'm a railway engineer. I'm an on-track plat man. So it's like I got multiple skills. So I don't like to be put in one box.
Yeah, so
So like,
you are set up to be a potential entrepreneur, but the definition is clear. Payroll, things of that nature. What I hear you saying to me is that you are well-rounded, and as a well-rounded individual with the skill sets that you have and the abilities that you have and the risk tolerance that you have, you're more poised to be an entrepreneur than a lot of people I speak with that don't understand what the difference is. And look, I'm not here to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, but when it right comes down to it, you have to have an authenticated factor. And an entrepreneur is an authenticating factor. That means you're scaled. That means people depend on you for their livelihood. There's a difference. And if you're going to be authentic in this space in the world of digital, you have to start with at least the title being accurate.
mm, I think you just said something that's quite interesting as well because this is something I want to like. It ties into entrepreneurship stuff as well. What I've noticed, especially with social media platforms, like the word. Forgive me for this. I'm gonna be so offensive. Or I can't stand the word niche. I can't stand that word niche. Like, oh, you need to find your niche. You need to know your niche. And I'm thinking, it's only when someone said this to me, where it's like you don't need to find it. You just become it. And I think that was
Um,
such a powerful thing in certain
yeah,
degrees.
yeah. So I think you're gonna hate it, but the
No,
word
no, 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 no.
niche,
I love it.
the word niche shouldn't be the thing that bothers you. Niche is, in my opinion, derives where you're gonna talk, where you're gonna
Hmm.
pitch, where you're gonna, and you have to because you can't boil the ocean. It's too big of a body of water. So a
Hmm.
niche is only the definition is only to find a spot in which will resonate a message, and you will get feedback. Okay, the concept that you're, I think, talking about is that you don't want to be limited
Yes.
to an area because you have all these subset skills and all these outside parameters that you're aware of and different life experiences that others that you can recognize that others don't
Hmm.
necessarily possess altogether. And I think that's more of a boundary than it is, fighting with niche. So niche, I think, is a separate thing, but don't let niche put you in a box. And I think that's what you're struggling with is niche is a box.
Yes.
Niche could be several boxes. So just be careful. I don't want you to limit yourself.
No, no, I agree with you fully because I think that's where my issue with it, especially with like the whole space with entrepreneurs, where it's like everyone feels like, oh, you used to be in this one box and only talk about this concept, or you still want this product. But it's like you that doesn't define you. Like you're more than that. Like for you, it's like for you, for example, you're a father, you're a businessman, you're a pilot. You got different boxes. You got different identities. You're not defined
If
by
you
one.
if you looked at my career on a piece of paper and I sent you my resume, you'd say I made it up.
Really?
Because people that read resumes, typically people that read resumes like to see consistency. They like to see, all right, he started here and he went into here and he grew into here and he grew into there. My resume looks like airline pilot, um, industrial commercial, steel fabrication development, intelligence consult. I mean, it is a broad. If you looked at my resume, you'd be like, this guy's nuts. He's got ADD, and I do, and that's
No,
my
you know
that's been
what?
my value,
No,
and the only thing I can say to you about that is it pays my bills. I've never been without, and whatever niche that looks like, I don't know. But it's not one box, and that would be the separation of the word niche. It's multiple boxes over multiple things. I'm just a big kid that has done everything I've wanted to do in life and truly enjoyed it.
no, and I fully agree with you because I'm like I said, I'm dyslexic and the thing is like, I mean, I spent 10 years working in retail. That was my main core factor. That was the job that like, supported my photography a bit. That's what supported my poetry thing. That was literally the main thing that generated my income. And I think this is where I think a lot of people understand is like having a main job is not a bad thing. But
Uh,
having hobbies and side projects can be a good thing because in the day it's like your main job is to support it generates the income to support your hobbies and interests, where therefore those can take over your main jobs. Like you look at
well,
famous people.
it's
Sorry.
well, it's by design. I don't mean to cut you off. It's by design,
Yeah.
though. When here in the states, as we go to school or call whatever, it's to go get a learn so you can get a better job. They never say go figure out what you're going to do, and if you don't like that, do
Hmm.
something else. That's not something that how do I say it? That's not something that's normal. So
Yeah.
our brains aren't really trained to do that. But go ahead, finish, Duncan. I cut you off early, but I
No,
want
no,
to make
no,
that point to you.
no. It's okay. It's okay. Because in the day, you just tie up to the point I was gonna say because, like I said, I go to poetry nights. When I see poets here who actually got corporate jobs, I'm thinking that's good. That means you got discipline, marketing strategy, and you mix that with your creativity. And knowing that you can put that together, it's like we were just talking about sports. Like to me talking about my favorite football team winning the Premier League, that gave me seeing them win made me raw. I need to work on my discipline side. That's like the sports side. I mean, I nowadays before yeah, I used to do indoor rock climbing, and that was what sparked my creativity. That gave me structured discipline, knowing my body, thinking like how to train. And I think what it is, especially like being an entrepreneur as well, in my personal opinion, like you said, I got potential, but I won't say I master it, but I understand the terms of it. It's more like you want to like have different type of skills, different backwards to a point, yeah, you become someone that a lot of people look up to and respect in certain ways. But you can also be a giver. Like I said, you have experience in the airline. Maybe one day I might get into airline. Hey, let me call my guy. He knows what it is, what it likes to be airline. He's got information, he's got knowledge. And I think it's like you gotta be like a giant library. That's why I look at it of
Well,
knowledge.
you've got a great personality. So most people that are intelligent don't really have the same, and I'm going to probably draw some pushback on that. But a lot
Hmm.
of intelligent people are very intelligent in what they know, but they don't know how other people think. They don't know how other people operate. They don't know how other people, feed themselves, to so to say. And unless you know those different dynamics of the world, how are you going to ever communicate what you know. You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you can't communicate it to the average Joe, you've just lost, three-quarters of the globe.
Mm. I think what you just said is interesting because this is something I was actually currently working on one of my Substack posts where I was thinking like, I noticed how a lot of people in social media platforms say, oh, you got to treat social media like a business. But I was like, hold on, you only treat it as a business because you started off as a hobby, then you made it into a business.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right.
Because in the day, it's like the reason why you can say that, oh, it's a business because you took something what you're not what you're passionate about. I wouldn't say the word passionate about, but what you found what you enjoy doing, and you found how you managed to make it into a way to generate an income. What I've noticed, and this is why for me, it's like especially in Substack, I have this thing. I love trolling entrepreneurs. I like to see their mindset. Like when people say, "Oh, this is how you go your Substack," this, I'm like, okay, but it doesn't fit my personality. It doesn't fit everyone. It's like you just try to put me in a box. Like you should do this. It's like I'm more like, okay, let me take a bit from you. Let me take a person, this person, this person. I'm like a thief, like an artist. I'm copying and stealing other people's work to become original as well. And then
I,
just last
I, I-
night,
yeah, I wouldn't
gone.
classify it as you're a thief. I mean, learning is not a thief. I would classify it as that you're observant and that you understand how to get an answer you're looking for. Many people don't know how to do that. I mean, I was doing that as a child. My mom would give me $3 and go into the restaurant and say, "Feed yourself," knowing that it was going to be 5.50, so I could. But I had to get water. I had to make some. I had to make some, some concessions. What you're saying is that you have the drive, you have the idea, you definitely have the personality. You're smart, but you really haven't defined. And this is going to be your word. You haven't defined your niche. You got to pick one. If you want to pick five, but pick one
Mm,
and then work on that, and then pick another one, work on that, but then keep coming back to all five. So if you have ADD, I have ADD. Okay, I'm
mhm,
dyslexic to some degree,
yep.
and these are not. We grew up with these thinking we needed medicine. We grew up with saying, well, they're different. You have something. I grew
Hmm.
up thinking I might have a gift, and it's all about attitude and perspective in your case. So
Hmm.
it sounds like you have the pieces. You just don't know what widget you're gonna proposition.
Yeah. What you just said there is this reminds me of Lego. It's like I have them together. I just know how to put them together, like a Lego set. It's like, and I think what you just said, I think in my personal opinion, it's funny you don't say it because this is something I learned last year. So last year I was doing a bit of photography at business networking events where you
Hmm.
got business people from different companies, people who run their own restaurants, people who own their own marketing strategy business, people doing like, I think B2B marketing. And I remember one woman said, like, look, I'm dyslexic and I'm an entrepreneur, but she said 40% of entrepreneurs are actually dyslexic. I was thinking, oh. And she said, look, I have run a company and, I talk to people as well. I have friends who run business, but when I need vulnerability and honesty, I go to them. I found my own clique, my own tribe. And I think that gave me the reassurance that I needed. The reason, like, but it's not, you don't have to be dyslexic to be an entrepreneur. I think, in my personal opinion, people who are neurodiverse understand the term business model and entrepreneur more because we're not afraid to be weird. We're not afraid to go against the grain. We're not afraid to do something different.
Can't be. It's impossible. The people that are making friction in the world, whether it's good friction or bad friction, okay? Because remember, just like when we were kids, if you act up in class, you still got attention. It
Yep.
just wasn't the right attention. Same thing in business is if you create the friction, you create the right outlet, then you just have to craft what you're going to pitch, whatever you're selling. If it happens to be Substack, then so be it. But if it's something else, then you just have to organize around that. And I would never tell you to stay in one niche. I would tell you to focus on a niche. I would tell you to focus on a couple niches. If you have to bounce around because you have different interests and that's what keeps you going, then you need to adapt and understand what you can run. But eventually you have to have conversion. Otherwise, they're just
Mm.
fancy hobbits, hobbies, and you'll never have any of the titles of entrepreneur or business owner. They'll just be fancy hobbies.
Okay, okay. But you know what? I got a bonus question to ask you as well. So
All
we
right,
talked about the entrepreneurship. I want to know what is the difference between a leader and manager, in your
say that again.
opinion?
Say that
What
again
is the
for me.
difference? What is the difference between a leader and a manager?
Oh wow, totally two different things actually. Um, well, you're not going to like my definition of leader, so I'll start with manager.
All right.
So manager is somebody that is in the middle to facilitate a process and
Mhm.
to make sure that the process is done with company culture in mind, with company investment in mind, and with the integrity that the company has driven. That's management. It's the responsibility of the escalation of whatever the top has pushed into the middle. Okay? So that'd be my definition of a manager.
So,
And that
so
could be
you repeat that
anybody.
again. So you might repeat that one last time because I just wanted to store that all in, take it all in to process that.
Say it all again.
Yeah, like just the highlight parts about the manager, like about the
Yeah,
middle
so
person.
a manager is something, is someone or some structure. It could
Hmm.
be multiple people
Yep.
that articulates the mission or the driven purpose from the top, and that then controls the mission in the middle, whether it's the logistics of something or the facilitation of culture,
Hmm.
whether it's the time schedule, whatever the map is, they're the facilitators of the map,
Okay.
or from the top. And I think that there's several different types of managers, but the ultimate goal is to take messages and implement them into strategy in the field or in
Mm.
a workspace. That's manager for me.
Okay. Interesting, interesting. Because I mean, while I was working my previous job in retail, I was like, I was a supervisor, but I saw myself more of a leader than manager. And I feel like to me, it was like I had to lead by example. So if I had to get my hands on to like, show people do work, I would do it with them. And I think, like I said, I spent 10, I worked in 3 different retail jobs in the past 10 years in my field. And I noticed some managers would not get their hands on, they would just delegate. And you can tell some of the staff members had resentment towards them, anger. I'm like, hey, like the more, if you don't get your hands on and work alongside them, they're not going to listen to you. But they see you put in work, they're going to respect you more. I think that's why I think to me I learned the art of leadership because I remember one of my previous store managers was like, Duncan, you gotta learn to delegate. Don't get involved, delegate. And I'll be honest, it didn't fit my personality. I didn't like the idea of staying around and saying to a person, you do this, you do that. I didn't like that. I felt like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm gonna be like a coach. I'm gonna get involved with you, but I'm gonna give you strategy. I want you this person to be here. I want this person to be there. But let's do it we're gonna do it together. And I think that's
Yeah.
where like I like the idea of being a leader.
So that's why you're not going to like my definition of leadership of a leader, is because I think the word leadership is way overstated.
Really.
Um, yeah, I think employees, even at the lowest end of the spectrum of an employee, a new entry employee to the company, I think they have the ability to be a leader. I think leadership is something that you internally possess that makes you buy into the concept, and once you buy into the concept, then you are going to do the best job you can. Leaders, there's so much craft around leadership and how you get people to do things, and yeah, all those things are valuable, and there's some value to that. But a real leader is a someone that really authentically cares and that wants to drive the better good so that there's something there tomorrow. We all Managers often live in the moment, but managers can be leaders as well. So that's why I said you're not going to like my definition of leaders, because I think leaders could be the bus driver all the way to the CEO, and I've seen it. I've seen it in corporations. I've seen it in major companies. I've seen it in private sector, public sector. A leader is someone that is willing to just take responsibility for something and make it better, and then bring the rest of the team around them, whoever they have, whether they have the clout or they don't have the attention, but to do it so well that you have to focus on them. That's a leader, somebody that's making improvements along the way for the better good of the common everything.
Okay, interesting. So, because you just said that as well, because this is something I've noticed in the, like especially in the workforce as well. And obviously, you work with entrepreneurs, you work for companies, and I want to talk more about the company side, the company side, because you work on that kind of area. Do you think most CEOs or like managers struggle with taking accountability of feedback in your field, in your experience?
What level of what? I mean, because
Like,
I deal with Fortune 100s. I deal with. I mean, at what level are you? Just give me some kind of breakdown
so,
of
uh, so
where
I
your
always say
perspective is.
so. I mean, like I'm talking about the higher up people. Like I'm talking like maybe like director, CEO kind of level.
And what is the question again exactly?
Like, do you think, like, working in your field, have you noticed where some people struggle to take feedback of like accountability for their mistakes?
Sure, there's always ego involved. Absolutely. There's always a proponent of ego. Absolutely. Especially when you get where you're moving hundreds of millions of dollars and you've got a lot of eyes on you, or you're a publicly traded company. Yeah, ego plays a huge part in that.
Okay, so how do you like to deal with it, like with these kind of people when he's like, hey, I know there's a gap in your knowledge when it comes to your company. Try it this way, this way. Like, how they like perceive it in a kind of way? Do they feel like, oh, from the outside, how dare you kind of thing? It's like more like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Why are you here kind of thing? Or it's more like they pretend to take your advice, but they secretly don't.
Well, it's on the delivery. Sometimes good advice is not given, it's disguised.
Okay.
A lot of
Uh,
people that run on the ego mentality, it needs to be their idea. So there's a way, if you strategize accordingly, and this is what Omex Intel does, is we work with corporations and people in private sector to strategize ways to deliver message, whether it's public opinion, whether it's internal management, whether it's stakeholder for stockholder, whether it's C-level management, whether it's briefings, political campaign strategies. These are all areas in which need strategy. So if we have the information that we know we need to present to the leader, the strategy comes in, or the thought process comes in, of the delivery. How are we going to get that information to this person? What has been successful in the past? What do we know their strong points are? What do we know what they're not going to wager or bend on? How do we position it to get what percentage is the greatest out of the risk? And the risk is being able to be identified as you're telling them something. In complex situations, we want it to be their decision, and that's usually the best, but it's often the hardest to articulate to them.
okay, interesting as well. Yeah, because the reason I asked that question in some way because it kind of just remind me of my previous job. So a couple weeks ago, I just called my own company out for asking for the detail. And I asked her how's going, anything. They told me they lost their, well, they had to get a new CEO. And I was thinking, what? And I said to him, like, Joe, like, come on, this is the third time you had to get a CEO for this company. Like, what's going on here? But I was like, oh, we wanted someone who's young and fresh, new ideas. I think that's a problem the company's having. If you keep changing CEOs, that might be a problem.
Well, if a board of directors, when you talk about CEO, I'm thinking board of directors, stakeholders,
Yeah.
shareholders, okay? When you
Hmm.
hire a CEO from a board of directors position, it
Hmm.
becomes political. The board of
Okay.
directors want to make money. And when you
Okay.
hire a CEO to come in and do things, the interview may go over well, the understanding may be clear, but when it gets right down to it, in a situation like you're talking about where they've had to hire multiple CEOs in a short period of time, something doesn't, something's not clear. Are they hiring the right CEO? But when the CEO unravels the onion, are they not willing or capable of doing the task that is behind the onion? That happens a lot. I've been offered jobs to be, CEO of corporations, and when I get right down to the brass tacks, what they really want me to do is do things that I wouldn't think would be successful, or I don't think would be maybe even ethical. So I wouldn't take the position. So every situation is different. But typically, if you see a redundant occurring misalignment, and that's what you're talking about, is a misalignment. If the board of directors is, I mean, because they're wasting money. Every time you hire a CEO, it takes a CEO 6, 7 months to get really acclimated into an organization, and by that time, you've spent a lot of money. So if they're hopping from one to another, I would say that there is some sort of misalignment inside the stakeholder decision models of what and who they're really trying to get to run the ship. They're either getting the right CEO to run the ship, and that's what they said they wanted. But when they, roll back the onion, as I said, they realize that that's not what it is, or vice versa. So it could be either or.
Okay. Okay. This is interesting as well because when you like the shareholder side, like, because I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm taking it in, taking it on board because it's It's actually quite interesting, fascinating because I never saw that kind of way. Because remember, I was in the bottom of that kind of field, so seeing the higher ups, I was thinking, oh, there's more layers to it. There's more like obstacles towards it, and yeah, it's just very fascinating. Give me a second, my brain is just like process a lot of good nuggets here.
No, take your time. Let me comment on something real quick. And this is goes back to our original thought process how we started is that you can start seeing these decisions from an entrepreneur position versus a solopreneur. When you're a solopreneur, you make all the decisions yourself. When you're an entrepreneur, you may have to work with investors. You may did seed capital raising, funding, whatever you did. And now you have to answer to those people as well. So things get very complex. That's why entrepreneur and business owner or solopreneur are two totally different concepts alone. And that was the basis of the conversation here today, is that we wanted to define and realistically outline inside Duncan what is the difference and why would somebody even consider the two? Because they're not the same. And that clarity hopefully has allowed some people to see and to see the complexity that really business could get into, just like anything else. I mean, the further you go, the more money you achieve, the more contracts you sign, the stickier things get. Common factor.
Well, you say common there, but it's not really common to a lot of people. I think that's one thing we have to realize. And the word common sense and common is not very common. It's very like rare. I mean,
It's
obviously, the person who made
selective.
that, yeah.
It's selective. Yeah, it's selective for sure. People are smart. One thing I've learned is you never underestimate anybody. I treat everybody the same, and I know that sounds cliche, but realistically, I don't ever want to be caught off guard. So I'm trying to present the cleanest, clearest way, insight, if you would. But yeah, it can get really sticky and complicated and legal, and things get really expensive really fast if you don't structure things accordingly.
No, of course, definitely, for sure. I mean, even me right now, my life journey. So, a bit of background check. So, I think if I had to go from past 7 years transition. So, 2019, I was working my previous job, my retail job, which I
Hmm.
left it. It's only I left that field last year, 2025. I spent a lot of time going through this self improvement journey, which it has its pros and cons in the self improvement journey. But then obviously going through COVID, I learned like NLP, hypnotherapy, psychology, and then moving to that into like into working with poetry, learning to like get better with my performance as a poet and spoken word poet. And then 2025, moving towards like the photography side for a bit. And then now I'm in a space where I'm trying to learn about business and marketing.
NLP is a great space. I spent a lot of time there for a while. There's a lot of there's a lot of good theory there, but you do have to put it into practice.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, your business idea. I don't know what your business idea is or are, but your business idea just needs to be crafted. And remember I hate to say this because this is a
No, no, with the
I don't want
bandits.
to
Listen, with the
I don't
bandits.
want to limit
With the bandits.
anything. But if you're trying to be a business owner, don't invent the wheel. The inventor always gets crushed. If you're going to invent a business, even on Substack, and you're going to try to position yourself for distribution, just be authentic. Don't be something you're not. Be authentic and understand that it's not a business. Even if you make revenue, it's not really a business. It's a platform um, for you to expand what you're pitching, and that's really the business.
Yeah, I fully agree with that one, by the way. And like I said, you could be. I think sometimes, yeah, you just got to be bandit. Sometimes you just got to be raw and upfront. That's what I learn sometimes. Like, yes, we're all emotional feelings here, but it's like it's how you perceive them as well. And
Yeah, your attitude towards everything makes a huge impact. And we just got a comment about word choice.
yeah,
Absolutely, word choice is a craft, just like if you're a good computer programmer, it's a craft. Word craft is something that will make or break every single thing that you are trying to convey. Everything.
mm, nah, I think what you just said there is true. Whereas this conversation is you gotta develop your skills. I think skills is very important, but I remember when growing up in school, I was never the most academic bright kid in school, but my mom always said to me, it's about your personality. Your attitude says everything. And I would say, yeah, if you're not good at something, but you have a strong attitude, your attitude can lead you, but your skills can catch up. And I mean, I've met some people in my lifetime. They have like very good skills, but their attitude just it doesn't match their skills.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you want to work with somebody, no matter how smart they are, if you can't really connect or talk to them? I mean, do you really want to go through that? Answer is no. No, you don't. You want to be able to connect, be connectable, be a chameleon when it comes to openness, be a chameleon when it comes to listening, and then being ready. When people say, "Hey, are you ready to come to this job? Are you ready to start this job?" Yeah. Well, you have anything coming up? Well, I may have this or that, and I mean that tells me as an owner hiring you that you're not ready. But if you said to me on the flip side of that, you said to me, "Absolutely, I'm ready to start tomorrow. I loved the interview today. It was nice meeting you all. I read about the company on the internet." Your attitude and preparedness sets you up for any success you want. It's almost like the atmosphere is the world, and you have to tell the atmosphere as well as you tell the people what ultimately you're trying to convey. And if you're ready, willing, and able, key codes and commands, so to speak, people will pick up on that, and it's the nonverbal sometimes that makes that connection genuine. If you can imagine that, I know you said you do a little bit NPL, so you
Yeah,
understand that if you do your non-behaviorals with your behavior and what comes out of your mouth, that articulation is going to give you a hey, look, I'm ready, I'm willing and able, and yeah, you can trust me with key codes and commands.
yeah. No, of course, definitely. I mean, in my first day on my shift, people like I got experience. People asking, "Donkey, you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Of course I'm ready." Like, "Hey, we like your attitude." I'm like, "Yeah." And you can tell some of the people have been there for a long time. They lost that spark, but then you see a new person. I think if you enter a field, you're new to a field, you're gonna get two type of emotions. One, you're gonna get experienced people who love the idea, seeing new people who can spark that side and remember, wow, I need to be like that, like full of excitement, full of energetic. Then two, you're gonna meet people who are like, oh, this new person annoys me, they irritate me. I think sometimes, yeah, when you meet people who like your idea and like your sparks of enthusiasm, those are people you want to be nearby because it reminds them what they used to be and it gains back what they lost. Compared to other people who are like, oh, this person, I don't like the idea, I like your energy, it's too happy. To me, it shows me like, okay, my energy provokes you in some way because maybe you're not putting work like it used to be.
Yeah, I'm challenged by them both. I'm challenged. I want to get in. I want to sit into a room. I want to get on the suicide hotline and volunteer. I want to get on the call when there's conflict and people are screaming at each other. I want to be the, I want to be the guy that says, hey, look, let's find some common ground. Now, does that always happen? No,
No,
no, absolutely not. No, it doesn't. But if you're not willing to poke your head into those avenues, and you're just going to strong yourself by the same thing all the time. I'll give you a quick example. I was on, and look, I'm not saying this was a bad decision or a good decision, but I'll give you an example of I was on a live post the other day with a gentleman, and he was articulating some things. A very very smart guy,
yeah.
and he only had three people in the chat, and I was like, okay, or three people watching, and I said, hey, let me in. Let's have a dialogue together. And he said, I don't know you. And I respect that. I don't know you. Okay. And I said to him, well, look, I want to add some value to the conversation, and I'll behave myself, so to speak.
Hmm.
And he pretty much said, well, I don't know you, and I don't know anything about you, and I looked at your profile, and you're new, and I don't know. And I thought to myself, okay, there's a lot of nuts out there, and I could see that, he's trying to separate, he wants to be able to control the content, and I totally understand that. But for me, it was like a shocker that said, um, why wouldn't you want to participate? You got three people in the room, and you're talking to us by yourself. You got somebody here that's trying to maybe articulate with you, and it was dumbfounded for me. So I get stuck. I get stuck on those two as well. I get stuck on people that won't allow you to come in the room, that they won't influencers won't respond to your post because you don't have, this polished picture, or you don't, you're not in the circle of everybody else. I think that's where staleness tends to stay. And in fact, you'll see it. You'll see these little echo chambers that are created by such a thing, where they start speaking. They actually start sounding exactly alike, and
You know what?
it's
Saying
interesting.
then you call that apologize. that's the one area I'm actually being honest, I'm scared to become, because that's the area I'm scared to become, because that example right there is like, and this is why I had to do my own Instagram platform. I had to unfollow big people on Instagram, because in the day it's just like I'm just a fan base. And the thing is, like, I know it's like, when, especially like we live in a digital marketing world where a lot of people are focused on status as their connection. I
Hmm.
mean, just so I'll give you an example. It's like 2 months ago, I met a British comedian. He was cool, he was funny, everything. The minute I tried a whole conversation with him, I was like, wow, okay, cool. But then I had another comedian, I can have a
Wasn't
conversation
Jimmy
with.
Carr, was it?
No, no, it's a Jimmy Carr. No, no, we got more than that. We got more. We got more British comedians, mate.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
But to me, it was just like, it just shows me, like, some people are just so closed off. Yeah, they only focus on their work. They don't know how to relax and actually like a human. And I was thinking, okay, I know you're a comedian, but you can relax and have a conversation with people. And I had another person. She was a comedian, but she was like very energetic, very talker, socialize. And it was mate. I followed him on Instagram. Next thing you know, I tag him in my story and anything. I even messaged the guy saying, "Hey man, I'd like to perform anything." I got no response. I was like, you know what, cool, cool. But I wasn't upset. But at the end of the day, it just shows me that some people get so high up to the point they actually got what it's like to be a nobody.
Well,
They,
in that world, in the celebrity world, I will push back a little bit. I'm not saying you're
yeah.
wrong by any means, but in the celebrity world, I'm not famous, okay, but I deal with some high profile people that
Hmm.
that have to deal with things like that. And the truth is I think they want to do it. There's a fear factor,
Yeah.
okay? And then there's another factor of time. So, never connect with emotion like that. That would be my first trigger to you, is that, don't anticipate.
Mm.
There's an old theory that, and I could be wrong and going out in left field,
No,
but
no, no, no. Just.
when we memorialize or we celebrate somebody's life, the end of life,
Mhm.
and we shed tears and we shed emotion, most of the time that is because of what we now have to absorb of what we thought we were going to have with this person in the future. So it's not a celebration or an emotion of we lost per se. It's that we lost the the ideology of how we were going to spend our life with that person, or whatever else we did with that person in the future that didn't come to fruition at the time. So a lot of grieve and a lot of these things, and I see that a lot with celebrities, where they'll do a meet and greet and people connect with them, and they'll become friends to say, but then they don't ever communicate again, and people get emotionally attached to those things.
Yeah.
But the grief is not necessarily that they didn't like you, or that wasn't meaningful to them. It was the fact that you're sad that there's no more there, and that's
Okay.
okay, and that's okay, that's normal. But that's what I see in that exchange a lot of times.
Okay. You know what? Thanks for explaining to me that kind of way, because when you put it in that perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense in a way. And it's like, I want to bring it back to what you said about the Substack Live. And you said, like, can I chime in? So I think, I mean, obviously that's how you and I connected when you gave your inputs when my
Hmm.
friend Radio were talking. It was actually kind of interesting as well, because it made me realize that, okay, we're actually not different from each other. I mean, I'm from UK, you're from USA. We actually got a lot of things in common.
Lots. I mean, we're essentially digital friends, and we wouldn't have known each other without Substack. And the fact that I asked and you said, "Hey, I got no fear," that simplicity made a connection, and you just never know.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, I'm a type of person. If someone wants to reach out to me and connect to me at a level, but you know what? How it depends how you do it. Because I've been in this platform a while, and I see some people message me say, "Hey, I got this product and anything," but it's like you just skip step one. You didn't get to step two. Step one is more like get to know me on a human level. Like, you're trying to sell me something that does not relate to me whatsoever, or like, or connects me. I mean, just recently I had someone who messaged me and said, "Oh, I see you following me on Substack. So what made you want to engage in my work?" And I'm thinking, surely your bio should give you the answer. Your bio gives you the heavy lifting. Like,
Should. Yeah, should.
it,
Yeah.
to me, when those kind of questions come to me, I see it from their perspective. Again, this could be, I could be wrong for saying this. I see it from a point of validation. You're seeking approval. if your bio says something, like, I don't know, for example, if your bio says, I don't know, AI strategy experts, turning nine to five, or I don't know, turning like companies to five-figure business companies to six-figure business. Surely your bio says everything. So I'm interested in AI. I'm going to subscribe to your work. Your bio literally said everything about you. It's giving me an idea of who you are.
What should have been done is they should have given you more about their bio, given you more about what they do, so you can connect further and deeper. That is true connection, right? Would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
No, I agree with you. But then if you go around asking people like, "Oh, what made you want to subscribe here?" I'm curious stuff. It just shows me like to me it gives me the idea of like, do you actually believe in your own work, or you just put titles for the sake of titles? Because
It's hard. It's a hard question because we're the sum of our experiences,
mhm,
and not everybody experiences the same way. Not everybody has the same risk tolerance. Not everybody has the same, worldview, so to speak. So it's very important to be open-minded when you deal with anyone, and keep emotion out of it. It's not an emotional thing.
yeah,
If somebody says to me, like if you said to me, "No, I don't want to talk to you. You're from the U.S. and I don't like how things are going." Okay, well that's great. That's a good point. But we just stop dialogue. If we stop dialogue, we've got nothing. Remember that. Nothing from nothing
yeah.
is nothing.
No, of course. I think to me, it's like it's funny enough. I spent a lot of time understanding the USA, and I'm really saying, wow, the USA has a lot of things in common with the UK, and a lot of people in the USA are, like I said, you learn from the UK culture. We're saying, okay, we're not the only one going through this. Okay, we're not the only one who thinks this way. And I think when you have people, like I said, you can learn from people from the other side of the world. It gives you new perspective, new angles.
Yeah, and I think we met on a call that was about, I was chiming in about, perspective of victim.
Hmm.
You have to be very careful what subsets you run with. You can introduce yourself and you can hang out and you can learn,
Mm,
but there also becomes a time where things become contagious, and you have to make up your mind before you do these things. Are you going to look at the world as an opportunity, or are you going to look at the world as a hindrance, or I've gotten a bad deal? And that little piece of attitude, if you would, can separate yourself, and you can still interact with anybody. You can still interact in any community. You just have this boundary that you set on, that you say, hey, I'm not gonna do these certain things, and I'm not gonna allow myself to learn that somebody else is in control of my life. We try. There's a lot of talk on the internet from X all the way through Substack, whatever, about how because of these circumstances, or because who this person is running a business or a country or building something, that my life is now affected because of that. And back to your point about procrastination, wouldn't that just be a heck of a tool to use in procrastination, is to tell you that you're just not capable, or just not your time right now? Wouldn't that be a great tool? And I think that's happening, very, very fluid.
yeah, you know what? I want to talk about. You just mentioned this back to opportunity. Because I mentioned that in the question, like especially with the entrepreneur side, like how do they create more opportunities? And I think in like my personal experience, like I said, I think I was well. Give me a second, my brain just froze. Uh,
It's all right.
I think
If
when it
anybody
comes
has
to
I was
yeah,
going to say, if anybody has any questions, they can ask some questions in the chat too, or take a couple questions today if you want.
yeah, yeah, no, of course. I mean, like I would say people should ask questions as well. I mean, like I said, sometimes it's good to have Q&A questions. But yeah,
Yeah.
opportunities.
Hmm.
So would you say like as opportunity versus scarcity? That's it. Like in terms of that way, how do you like go from scarcity to the opportunity side?
Yeah, great question. So scarcity, I look at scarcity not in the same vice versa, if you would, of opportunity. I think they're two independent things. Okay. Opportunity is what you make it. So if you want to, let's say you want to harvest potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know anything about potatoes, but you love this particular potato, and you're going to harvest potatoes. My first goal is to do research on the industry. My second goal would be to find out who the players are in the marketplace. My third goal would be to try to get as close to them as I possibly can without them knowing I'm there at first.
Hmm.
And remember, you're stacking information to be a player in this marketplace. And that would be your first step, is to stack information so that you can speak the language. You understand the nomenclature. You understand the flow. You understand how the business runs. Remember, selling potatoes sounds like it's a sales business, but you may not be able to sell potatoes in the big market. There might be a hold on it. So you have to understand the nomenclature, you understand the players, understand the target. I'm not going to use the word niche because I know you don't like that, but you have
No,
to
no, no,
understand
it's all
that
right. Don't worry, don't worry. You can use the words. Trust me. You
you
know
have
what?
to
I
find.
realized.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, you know what? You can use the word niche because any day is like how you broke it down, and explain to me. It's like it has no power for me because I realize something. I want business to become something, then find it. So yeah, because like I said about niche, but yeah, but it's like potato about a niche thing. But you continue.
Yeah, it's niche is not limiting. It's
Yeah.
structuring, right?
Hmm.
So in this particular situation, that's how I would start. I would gather, what it is, who the players are, and I would try to get as close to it as I can without them knowing I'm there, because you're not ready to introduce yourself just yet. You don't know what avenue you're going to come out of this box. So you have to figure out. Look, I've been involved in a lot of businesses where we've run the court before we spent a dime. We tried to figure out if these ideas would work, and who are the where's our first roadblock coming in? Almost like reverse engineering it. Where's our
Hmm.
first roadblock going to come? We can come up with a name, we can come up with the paperwork, we can come up with insurance, we can come up with all the things you got to have. But before you spend all that money, you want to dry test it to see what roadblocks you're going to do and what roadblocks are going to happen and to see what you're going to need to accomplish them. And if it's possible, some things need more capital than others, and capital is a limiting factor oftentimes.
Mm. You know, you just said something about the reverse engineer part. Because I remember you, I think you wrote down one of your Substack posts about reverse
Hmm.
engineering
Hmm.
as well. So, like, can you explain more about the reverse engineering part? Because I'm more intrigued by that side.
Yeah, it's kind of an oxymoron in some capacity. It's like looking at the book. You just
Hmm.
got a brand new book in the mail, and I'm
Yeah.
telling you to read it from the back forward.
Okay. So it's
And when
like
I
basically.
when I put it in practice, yeah. So when I put it in practice, I reverse engineer it and I say, all right, well, if I'm gonna sell these blocks of ice, who's gonna buy it? What are they paying for it? So I'm at the end before I'm at the beginning. And a lot of times when you're starting a business, and this is just my opinion, and Omex
Hmm.
Intel goes into this a lot deeper, and a lot different. We have a lot of different platforms that you can work on and get more information about this. But in a 50,000 foot view, you're just going to figure out how it looks on the end. It's like winning the FIFA title and working your way backwards to the first day of practice. So you're at the championship stage, you're visualizing the championship stage, you're understanding the goals in your hand, and then you just literally start going backwards. What hurdles do I have to get to this stage to hold the trophy? That, in my definition, that would be the shortest way to, over a broad spectrum, talk about reverse engineering.
Okay. So it's like you look at an end goal, but then you're thinking how you gonna do it. But you go backwards step by step. Instead of going forward like step one, step two, you go from 10 to step 9 to step 8. So it's as well. Okay.
I'm not saying perform them all. I'm
Okay.
saying research each one to see where you're going to anticipate obstacles. If you start a business and you put investment capital in it,
Yep.
okay, and you get to a point where you're like, well, nobody buys potatoes. Um, there are no potatoes that are being sold on the open marketplace. As a matter of fact, there's a farm in the middle of this country, and one company owns it, and they do their own. There's no market for it. It could definitely be a viable outcome. You want to know that as far in advance as you can, so you don't spend any upfront money on useless stuff until you. It's almost like you want to look at what's going to prevent you in the process than it is to what you can do at first.
I see. I see. Interesting. Because you know what's funny? It's side note because this kind of relates to my again back to my previous job as well. We have like two models. We have like module core customers. And my manager always says to me, focus on the module, not the cause. The module are the new people you want to bring into to a point they become a regular. Because your core customers are irregular, they already know how you operate. So if you look at like Nike, for example, Nike has loads of core customers. Everyone knows who they are. they could release a new product and at the point, yeah, everyone will buy onto it. But then obviously, like they want to focus on the new customers. So if people don't know who they are, they want like bring new people in. So when you said about the whole potato thing, I was thinking like visualizing it. Okay, I ain't got no core customers yet, so let me focus on my modules. Let me focus on like showing them the potatoes what I have and everything to a point they end up coming more and more and more to a point they become a course, and then those cores will like, bring me more modules. They'll bring more new people. They'll bring their friends and family. It's like word of mouth, recommendations.
Yeah, but so this is where the niche comes back because if you're using a digital component, there's an
Hmm.
algorithm behind it.
Hmm.
And that algorithm doesn't understand that you are well-rounded in multiple industries. So when you go back and you're trying to use Substack as something, and there's an algorithm there. The
Yeah.
algorithm is going to identify your content. It's going to identify what it is, and then it's going to put it into the world in which you are seeking. But if on Monday you post about cars,
Hmm.
and on Friday you post about geopolitics, the algorithm is then confused,
Yeah.
and therefore your traffic will it diminish to some degree. But
No, I get you.
I guess what you're saying is, how do you draw from 0 to 1? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like exactly that one. So basically, like the module, like how you turn a module into a core. Basically, that concept. So we said about the whole potato one. Like you're like new in the market and you're selling fresh potatoes and you don't realize no one's else selling potatoes but you.
You'd have to find the correlation between what the module is about and who is the audience that needs it, wants it, reads it, and can articulate it back to themselves. Meaning it's relatable.
Okay. Okay. So that's literally there. So when you say that's where the scarcity part comes into it, like when it comes to the label part, or that's like the opportunity side comes more.
Yeah, so like with Omex Intel, my organization, we handle strategic conflict under pressure.
Hmm.
We look for the clarity amongst the divide. And this is a broad subject because I deal in a lot of different industries and environments and workplaces. The only thing that stays the same, which the algorithm would like, is that we are strategic claritist. We ultimately will work with you to solve a business angle problem to be able to strategize with you for a best outcome, whether it's talking to your leader, whether it's talking to management, whether it's the investors, whether it's a personal pressure at the job, whether it's a transition from the job. You just have to keep the same, like our business model never changes. Our posts may talk about different things, but our business model and language structure never changes. And in order for the algorithm to understand, and look, I'm not any great follower thing, so don't look at me for that kind of leverage. But as far as understanding what we're doing, is that we're singling a signal every time: clarity, strategy. And in everything we do, it can talk about cars. It could talk about, um, you know, I forgot the other example I used, but we can talk about
Potatoes.
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 We talk about whatever we want, provided that your synergy is the same each and every time. Because I don't want to be diluted by saying, "Well, I handle family breakups." I don't handle family breakups. I don't deal with family domestic situations. I deal with with people that are in high strategic decision making positions that need a voice outside the noise that's confidential, private, and on demand. And at
Oh,
Omex Intel, that's what we do. We don't change our model. That's what it is. We may talk about different topics, but that is the strategy each and every time. And that may help.
okay. Interesting. Interesting. No, of course, this is actually good. It's actually good. By the way, I'm actually taking notes where you're talking. So
Oh
I'm
gosh.
literally like, no, it's good though. I'm taking notes because like I said, I'm learning
I'm
about the
sitting here
business of
enjoying the
marketing.
conversation and you're taking notes.
No, I think that's good because in the, day it shows me that how a good teacher you are. Because I feel like sometimes yeah, the best way to learn something is how you show what your experience is and you learn from certain people. So when you said like stock information, I was like looking at that thinking like how does one stock information in certain level?
Elaborate a little bit more. Give me some more
No,
of
because
that.
I was saying like when we was talking about stacking information. I was in my head. I was like taking. I was thinking like obviously listening. I was listening to what you were saying. I was absorbing it in. But it was the key thing when you said about stacking information. That was the part that got to me. I was thinking like for me, it's like how do I develop my skills? Like how do I do it? Or like why should I stack my information? So I was looking from two different points: how or why perspective.
So, what is your message?
Hmm.
Why do you think people need it?
Hmm.
Okay, and how are you going to articulate it? Those are the three questions we talked about earlier. So the what? So what is your, here he comes again. What is
Yep.
your niche?
Mm.
Okay, not
Yep.
your only niche. Let's just say I don't want to, I'm not, that's not a box
Mm.
term. We talked about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But what is your niche so that you can be comfortable, you can work your craft,
Hmm.
and yet you're consistent. That's the first thing.
Okay. Yeah. So what is okay? So what is it? So that's so basically the foundation is like the what is defies the work because the stacking the information. It's not the
Yeah,
how or the why. It's the what.
there's a gentleman in the chat. His name is Brandon Elridge. Is he
Hmm.
still in the chat? If he's in the chat, chime in. I've got something. I'll explain something that he does
Yeah.
that
Oh,
is
you still here?
really, yeah. Okay, is he still here?
Yeah.
So what he does, if I may, Brendan, he what he does is that he does cooking sometimes.
Yeah.
He does fun puzzles sometimes. He does poems. I found
Yep.
out the other day he's a singer. He does
Okay.
all these different things. Okay,
Hmm.
and but his core strategy is the same over and over again.
Okay.
He's authentically genuine. That's it.
Interesting.
He is who he is every time he comes on, and I admire that. He is comfortable with who he is. Now, is he
Yeah.
making $1 million on Substack? I don't know. I hope he is. It's valuable.
Yeah.
But you
He's
see
here.
that,
He's here.
yeah. Do you see? Yeah, I see him now. Okay. Sorry, Brandon. I'm using you as an example, but
No, but it's good though.
he is an authenticator, and
Hmm.
in a world of information spinning around the globe so
Hmm.
fast, everybody's we've got so much wisdom. We're looking for the authenticator of it.
Okay. So okay. So you mean like that? So if
Ah, he
okay.
laughed
So
at us. He laughed at us.
yeah. Yeah. I know. So okay. So if I look at my Substack, because I got like two publications. I got one that is called like the stages for it, where it's like me. So I say I'm in the discovery stage. So one of my
Hmm.
publication is the discovery stage, where I'm just talking about multiple topics. One minute I might share poems. One minute I might share like stuff I learned from NLP or hypnotherapy, or one thing I learned about from spending time with entrepreneurs or business people as well. And then my other one is like Cornel Heart, where it's like I talk about war conversations with people on the spectrum.
Hmm.
Like I share like little stories, what's going on in my life, like a little chapter, like chapter one, what happened to me this week, or chapter two, what happened this week. But it's like each of them is like life lessons behind the lessons.
So are you a commentator?
So I wouldn't say a commentator, but it's like more like I let people know, like with my new heart, it's like what my point of view of being a spectrum, where it's like a new heart, and then my other one, the stages well, is like more like what I'm sharing people what I've learned, sharing my poems, showing like how I think. So like so I look at the three words: how, why, or what. So it's like it's in a way it's like I'm exploring the niche area. So it's like I call it like someone says to me it's like you're in the discovery stage where you try to figure out what works for you, what doesn't. So it's like a bit like a trial and error.
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, you're a young guy. You've got a lot of energy. Why not? Discovery stage is some of the best places for a business, a future business owner in the making, however you want to call it, is a great place to be. I mean, I'm still in the discovery phases of business. I had a guy pitch me the other day, a mobile gas company, and I didn't even have any idea what that was. I was like, wait a second, you're going to deliver, so you're going to make gas more expensive? People can't afford it the way it is. But when he described it to me, how he was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, I see the opportunity. So you just don't know. That's what the discovery phase is all about.
Yeah. I think to me, anyone who's literally on the journey, it doesn't have to be stepped up. Anything you knew, you're always going to be in discovery stage. And I think sometimes you
Always.
need, yeah.
I have an addiction to business. I love business. I love transaction. I love to. I'm a 0 to 1 guy. After that, things get a little creepy. But I typically, yeah, I have to hire the right people and stuff. But I'm like you. I stay in the discovery phase a lot of times. But realistically, you have to get out of the discovery phase because life calls and you have to make money. So eventually, your discovery phase needs to net you something.
Yeah. No, of course. No, I just read what Brandon said. It's like it was quite interesting what he said. Definitely. But yeah, no, I agree. I hear what you're saying, and I think it's very fascinating, interesting as well. I think to
Brandon's
me,
Brandon's picking on you about your niche.
he think what he want his niche. Yeah, just let him know I subscribe to his work. I'll check out more about his work.
Yeah, follow his channel. He's a great guy. Follow his channel. He's a great guy. He's authentic, and I learn
Yeah,
something each time. And I may not sometimes. I just listen. I don't. Sometimes I don't have anything in common with what's being on, but I there are nuggets. And I'm telling you right now, if you look for those golden nuggets, you're the winner. Stay
yeah,
curious. Stay curious, and make sure that if you find somebody in the room that's 100% certain, just know that that's the scariest person.
really. I love how we got you and I keep
We
saying this.
talked
That's
about
scary person.
this. We talked
Yeah,
about this last time. Yeah.
yeah. I think isn't you say scary? I think I'm more like intrigued. I won't say scary. I'm more like fascinated by that person
Well, they're
because
really,
that.
I mean, that you talked about leadership earlier. I deal with that all
Yeah,
the time where they're like, I've been doing this for 150 years. Don't tell me." And I'm like,
yeah,
"I get
no.
it. I get it, but the outcome for 150 years isn't getting you what you want. You have to have that conversation, and it's hard sometimes."
Like the old saying, like you can't teach an old dog new tricks sometimes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You just have to have the right motivation and the right timing. Words are important, as we outlined earlier, and
Yeah.
they matter. And sometimes, look, as a CEO, some of the best conversations I've ever had where I thought I knew something, and somebody stepped up and said, "That is completely wrong." And I was like, hey, "That's not completely wrong. What do you mean completely? Completely, and completely is a word I could argue on, right? Because there's got to be something right about it. So you wouldn't use that word. So things like that are important of how you articulate in those situations. And unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I've had a lot of experiences like this, and I like to share them with people. Um, and I've got a thing on my website. I don't want to plug my website necessarily, but if you go to omixintel.com, on the bottom of our website, there's three tabs, and it talks about what you're talking about. And if you go there, I'll put a link in the what you call it, so people could just click on it. If you go there at the bottom of the page, you don't have to buy anything, but at the bottom of the page, there are three things that we talk about. And it's very important, like you're talking about, what phase are you in? And this is key. Okay, this is key. There's the discovery phase, there's the information phase, and then there's
Mhm.
the what to do connection phase. And you'll see that spelled out on the website. And it's real simple. Like I said, I'm not trying to plug the website, but I am letting you see it in real because you're in the discovery. You have to have one, two, in order to execute three. If you
Mm.
do not have that, if you do not reverse engineer it, so that when by the time you speak to somebody, if you don't know the nomenclature, like I said earlier, then
Yeah.
you can quickly easily like in the building industry, I could walk through a building in 2 minutes and tell you who knows how to build something and who doesn't, just by a couple words here and there. And that's how people are across the spectrum everywhere.
That's actually very interesting, fascinating because we just said that because what I do, and this is my strategy as well, especially with Substack, if I find someone's work I like, I mean, me, I'm more of a reader than a writer. So I like to read people's work. I like to spend time reading people's work, especially the notes. And I always tell people as well, I ain't got some friends here as well. I keep telling if you want to get people's attention, you got to use notes as your lead magnet. Because that's I'm always using notes a lot. So I'm just like, I might write something that's got in my head, or I might write something that's like, my opinion, I might write a poem. But in a way, yeah, I'm literally it's like a lead magnet for myself. And sometimes I'll be honest, it's not times I'm gonna energy or motivation to write a post or article. But if I can like write a note, that gives me enough. It's showing me I'm being enough consistent in a way. And then, like I said, when I see people's notes, straight away I engage with them, I talk to them, then I look at their work and I think, okay, if I really want to talk to you, have a conversation, then I'll fully reach out to you and DM you fully about having like set up with me or a conversation. as well.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah, you can. I mean, it all depends on your approach. Your approach and attitude, like we talked, your attitude is pitched well. I think if we get up in the morning and we read an article and we type and we forget what we're trying to target or who we're trying to talk to or what our business is about, we've mixed some emotion into it, and we've got to be careful that we separate the two. Outside of that, speak your mind, have multiple channels, but just stay consistent. That would be my only advice is to stay consistent in that wheelhouse. What if you pick one niche, and you're going to have five because you obviously you said you don't want one. So, but if you pick one, of the four, and you go in there and decide to work with that one that day or that whatever period of time,
mm,
just be consistent. Your audience loves consistency, and they love authenticity. So I think I find myself in all kind of chat rooms and all kind of live events, and not because I'm trying to go live, but because I want to keep the conversation going. I want to keep thinking together and keep sharing ideas across conversation. Because when it stops, that's when you have nothing.
mm. No, I fully hear what you're saying, and I think to me, and this is something I picked up, and this is my point of view, my opinion. Now, I could be wrong for this, but since being on social, I've kind of noticed they're leaning towards the notes and live video chats more. That's why I'm starting to notice and pick up on certain things.
Yeah, so you and I talked about this last time, and this is a good thing to end on. What we'll do is you and I should set a quest to
Mm.
get a third wheel every time we come on.
I
So
mean, yeah,
I've
I mean,
got
got one
you.
ready,
We
Brandon.
got yeah. We have got we have your wheel set. We've got my
Yeah,
wheel set. We'll get somebody else, and we'll come on and we'll start a conversation, and we'll have a topic. We'll talk about business. We'll talk about
mm,
strategy. We can talk about
yeah,
conflict. Any of those things that you're talking clarity. Any of these things that we've discussed here today, and we should not only have this for ourselves and our community that we've got in here now, but we should
mhm,
increase people to come in.
yeah,
And because I guarantee you there are other people that want to join us and
yes,
want to connect with us. It's just who's gonna swallow that pride first and say, I need you. And I'll do it. I'll do it today. I need you. I want more live chats and I want to be able to engage with more of the world. So I'll be the
yeah.
first to raise my hand. But I think we can make it happen. What do you think? Does that fit into your
I
into
like it.
your one
I
of your
can't.
niches?
I kind of like it. In fact, is yeah, I started doing more live chats because I think this is where I feel comfortable having conversation. And I think it's me, it's like I'm trying to move towards like the more video and article side. So because I look at it this way, if you do a video, you can write about it. You write about something, you can make a video out of it. They're both transferable.
You know what? You almost have to have the audio so you can write this. So you can write the piece. and
Yeah,
and that is we have to do this part so that we can go and write about our exchange today. And I think a lot
yeah,
of people see that, and you're more likely to listen to a snippet than you are a hour plus call. So yeah, I think you're onto something. But I'm open. I'm raising my hand saying we should do more of these. We should go live together. We should bring people in.
yeah.
There are communities. I don't know how to get into the communities on Substack or whatever. So if
I mean,
somebody
the
wants
chat
to help
rooms.
us do that, yeah, I don't know
Oh,
how
the
to
chat
do
rooms.
all that. Yeah,
I mean,
but
I can help you out, sir. I got a chat.
excuse me.
I literally have a chat room, and that's why for me, if I was to be very honest with you, 'cause I know it's my well, with my area needs, I try to focus on more community based area. So as well. So what I'll
Mhm.
do is I'll send you the link to my chat room, and like I said, you go share your notes, your articles. I might every week I try to engage I try to engage my audience as much as I can by asking them certain questions or topics, and we share points of view and discussions. Because I think I value conversations more.
Okay, so the chat rooms are not lives. They're just text back and forth.
Yeah, it takes about more. So this is like a
We,
live
we
video we're doing.
so we need to create a live chat room. We need to create. Is that possible? We need to create a live area where we need to pick a topic of, let's say, business or something.
I think with
And
Substack,
yeah, we need to do that somehow, some way.
yeah. I think with Substack, the only max we can have in a live video is like 3 people. But who knows, maybe the future they might extend it to 5 or 6.
Um, Whatever. I don't know enough to tell you one way or another, but I would be open to having more live chats and being able to reach a greater audience if we could. Pick a
Yeah,
topic and we have questions and insights and I'm here to learn too. So
yeah. And like I said, anyone in the audience wants to have a jump in our conversation, they're free to DM me as well.
yeah, is there any questions for today? Have you seen any? Let me go back. Do we have any questions from anybody or anything that anybody wants to explore?
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I actually like this conversation. It's actually giving, I'll be honest, it's actually motivating me as well. Definitely.
Oh, I'm not a motivator. We talked about that. That's
No,
like the
no, no,
niche word for you, you know?
no, but you know what? You know what has to be a motivator? That you don't have to be a motivated speaker, but just having conversations with some people it sparks the creativity or inspires people.
There's so many great people in the world. I
Yeah.
can't tell you. You just have to break that core on the outer side, and once you get in there, there's some wonderful people out there, and I continue to meet them each and every day, and I just can't wait to meet more. So set it up for us. And look, Duncan, I really appreciate you having me on today, and I've enjoyed our conversation, and I hope that we were able to shed some light to the audience a little bit as well.
Oh no, definitely. And I think hearing your story as well, we are saying we have a lot of things in common. It made me it's like maybe me realize that wow, there's so many things I could learn from as well, especially like from the business side, marketing side world. Because that's one side I'm trying to like learn more about. And I think to me, hearing that is actually giving me like I think give me a second. I think next time when we talk, I think what I want to explore the word about strategy. That's
Okay.
something I want to explore more about the marketing strategy side. That's one
Set it
area I'm
up.
trying.
Yes,
Yeah.
set it up. Set it up. I'll get you in, and we'll set it up, and yeah, and try to get, let's put some feelers out there ahead of time. Let's see if we can work together and see if other people have insight or want to chime in on strategy. Strategy is a big topic, so maybe they want to narrow it down a little bit, but we're open to all that, I'm sure.
No, of course, definitely, 100%. But yeah, I gotta go. It's literally at 8 p.m. on my side.
Go get some sleep. I appreciate your time, Duncan. Thank you so much.
No worries. And thanks to everyone who joined this conversation as well. And like I said, feel to DM Omax as well, DM me anything as well. So I'm an easy going person to talk to. And like I said, this has been a great conversation. I actually value this conversation a lot.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for everybody watching in the chat, and we'll be on again soon. Just stay tuned. We're going to post something about strategy here pretty soon. So
All
stay
right.
soon. Thanks, Brendan.
So, take care, guys.
Bye bye.
In a bit. Bye.
All right.